16 minutes past 7 is the time now. Parents of children with special educational needs and disabilities have described the process of accessing support as overwhelming and demoralising.
More than 500,000 children in England have a legal document from their local authority which outlines their additional needs. That is known as an education health care plan. But if families disagree with the assessment, they can face lengthy and costly court proceedings.
Our Disability Affairs correspondent Nikki Fox has been looking into this.
She just won't even go up past the school anymore because she's just that terrified of seeing anybody or actually being anywhere near the school.
Sarah's not been to school for 10 months. Because she's autistic, she has an education, health and care plan, a legal document designed to support young people like Sarah. But her mum doesn't agree with what's in it.
She has got an EHCP. We are applying to the court to get them changed and to change from mainstream into a specialist school. The specialist school is the right setting for Sarah. It just changed her world completely and ours, that she's in the right setting and she can thrive again.
A mainstream setting for Sarah then is just too much.
It's just far too much for her to cope with. It's had a massive impact on her. She said things that shouldn't be said by her. Sorry.
Louise, I'm sorry.
It's all right. She says that she hates herself. She hates life.
Darling, can you just hurry up, because we actually do need to get to school.
Getting Joseph ready for school isn't always easy.
You sure you don't want anything to eat? Joseph is an amazing boy. He is 11 years old now. He's just started secondary school. Right, Joe, brush your teeth, darling. He is autistic and he has ADHD. He's high anxiety, but he is doing really well.
Joseph is doing so well because his mum fought for an EHCP that really works for him. But it was a long and complicated process, even for someone like Hannah.
You are an SEND solicitor.
Yeah.
So you know what you're doing. Did you think you weren't going to get what you needed? Or were you pretty confident you would get it in the end?
That first initial part was relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
But I think, had I not known the law, I wouldn't know that. So many parents say to me, we've been told that we won't get one for lots and lots of different reasons. Our council have different rules, but I always say to parents, stick with it. Stick with it, because if you think your child needs more support, if you see your child really struggling, the chances are they do need more support.
The local government association says it recognises the rights of families to appeal, but it fears the increasing workload will tip councils over the edge.
We're trying our best to make sure that that child or young person has the best healthcare plan that they can. But if it's going to tribunal, there's then a blockage within the system. And even when the tribunal says, no, they need to go to a special school, there aren't sufficient places. So it's the whole system is broken and it all needs re-looking at.
When you're at school, have you made any friends at school? Is there anything that makes you want to go back there, or is it just you absolutely do not want to go back to that school ever again?
Absolutely do not want to go back to school ever again.
Okay.
The Department for Education acknowledges the system isn't ideal and says the vast majority of education, health and care assessments and plans are concluded without the need to resort to tribunal hearings. Louise just wants the right support for her daughter so she can get back to school.
So you're going to go to tribunal?
Yeah.
I wouldn't pit against you, Louise, but do you feel confident?
I'm not a confident person,
Okay.
but when it comes to my children, I fight. I'm not stopping until I get what she needs and what she deserves.
Nikki Fox, BBC News.
We're joined now by Chrissy Malidi, who's the Chief Executive of Equalities and Human Rights UK. Good morning to you. Saw two families there, and the distress that this causes is actually, it's not unbelievable because parents just want the best for their children. But then we saw the flip side, didn't we, when we saw the cost of tribunals and what authorities are facing. I think, someone said in there, the whole system's broken, the whole thing needs looking at. If you, just looking at it objectively, in an ideal world, would you just strip the system down and start again?
I think what we would do is start again and also invest heavily into it, because they've had major cuts over a period of austerity, and even the funding that the government have given doesn't stem those deficits. And on top of that, we have an increase of children, young people and young adults with SEN.
Okay, so that would be in an ideal world.
Yes.
Let's come into this world,
Yes.
shall we, where we know there are funding problems and authorities are struggling to spend. What can be done now, from your point of view, that can make a tangible difference right now? It won't fix it, but it will make it much easier so we don't have parents going through this distress.
I think local authorities, 96% of the cases that go to tribunals, the local authorities lose, which tells you that they're doing something wrong as local authorities themselves. And while saying it's just about funding, it's not just solely about funding. It's the way that families are being treated within the system, the way that local authorities have stacked up the system for education healthcare plans with matrices and, grids that stop children being able to apply for those EHCPs. Health authorities won't provide the services. We have children on backlogs for a year or 3 years waiting for an assessment, for a diagnosis, and then when they go to the local authority for an education healthcare plan, they're turned away because they don't have the evidence. So it's the entire system which is holding the children back, and sometimes it's attitudinal and behavioural as well towards these families that breaks their nerves in the end.
Chris, tell us, for those people who are not involved in this directly with their own children, trying to navigate it, the education healthcare plan, I mean, when you start from scratch as a parent to try and secure something that you need,
Yes.
how complex is the system? How difficult is it by way of approaching it and getting the right result?
The code of practice and regulations make it very simple. It's how it's translated into practice by people on the ground. And those people on the ground are trying to conserve resources to a great extent. So you have to apply for an education healthcare needs assessment. And in order to do that, you're getting rejected. Sometimes local authorities and schools are lying and saying you can't apply until your child is 5. Then you have to be in school for 3 terms. That's not the case. You can apply from birth for an education healthcare.
So let's make this clear. You can apply from birth and there's no specific amount of time a child has to be in school before you can apply for
There
this.
has to be. There's a review and a graduated approach, but some children need it very early on in early years, all the way to the age of young people and young adults at 25. So you can apply, but then it's gathering the evidence. If the evidence isn't there, as I've said with the health authorities, and also provisions having provided that evidence, parents immediately come up against a block, and local authorities then apply that to say there's no evidence that they have SEN, even when it's blatantly true that they do.
Christy, in a way, it's easy to kind of paint the people saying no as the bad guys.
Yes.
But I'm guessing from what you're saying is they're effectively being told they need to protect resources. Therefore, they reject people. Is that what's happening? The system is meaning the individuals doing the assessments are trying to conserve money because there isn't money in the system.
They're all cool, yes. And also it's a lack of investment from government fundamentally that we have a problem with here. But we have situations like I was in a county council recently advocating for a child, and the SENCO